blesses with all that they need. Give to the Lord all the glory. Give to him all he is due. Worship the Lord in splendor. Worship in spirit and truth. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. blesses with all that they need. Give to the Lord all the glory. Give to him all he is due. Worship the Lord in splendor. Worship in spirit and truth. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name. Sing of his mighty word. Spread it among the nations. The Lord is the one who reigns. The heavens rejoice, the whole earth is glad at the sounding of his holy name. Through creatures that fill the ocean, through all of the beasts of the field, through trees and the mighty mountains, his majesty is revealed. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name. Sing of his mighty words. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name. Sing of his mighty words. Great is the Lord and worthy of praise. Spread it among the nations. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name. Sing of his mighty words. Great is the Lord and worthy of praise. Marvelous are all his deeds. He blesses all those who call on his name. He blesses with all that they need. Give to the Lord all the glory. Give to him all he is due. Worship the Lord in splendor. Worship in spirit and truth. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name. Sing of his mighty word. Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name. Sing of his mighty works. Great is the Lord and worthy of praise. Spread it among the nations. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name. Sing of his mighty works. Great is the Lord and worthy of praise. Marvelous are all his deeds. He blesses all those who call on his name. He blesses with all that they need. Give to the Lord all the glory. Give to him all he is due. Worship the Lord in splendor. Worship in spirit and truth. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. his mighty word. Spread it among the nations. The Lord is the one who reigns. The heavens rejoice, the whole earth is glad at the sounding of his holy name. Through creatures that fill the ocean,
Well, hi y'all. Our crowd has thinned somewhat, hasn't it? That's as far down as it goes, huh?
You're in the kitchen.
No, from I know, we used to run about 18 people on Wednesday night, yeah. Ain't but 13 of us there. 5 people missing. Yeah. We had a awesome crowd at the Bible study Tuesday, didn't we? Well, 43 people there. Now, I had to give you all an extra sheet because I forgot to print page 17. Because we're going into the most boring chapter. It's so easy anybody can understand that one. What are we? Chapter 11. And I may throw a little more stuff in it to help confuse it so that it doesn't get too boring. And for some reason, I threw verse 1 into chapter 10 last week, if y'all remember right, because it was totally out of place in chapter 11. But anyway, I start Daniel chapter 11 verse 2. And now, ta-da, drum roll, boom, shh, I will tell you the truth. Uh-oh, been lying up to now. What's the matter? That's the wrong page. See that single page by itself? That's page 17. That's the first page. See at the bottom where it says chapter 11, Daniel 11:2? Yeah, I told y'all, I gave y'all another page because I forgot to print the first page of chapter 11, page 17. So I had to go print a bunch of pages 17 to give y'all an extra page because I didn't do it right. Y'all got that now? Y'all understand why if you look at the papers I gave you stapled together that the first page doesn't say anything about chapter 11 verse 2?
Don't get it. Then you need to.
It's a good thing I don't teach school.
I did my homework. I had it.
No, don't give me no homework.
Is this a sign?
I've got enough homework, bro.
Chapter?
Say, and now we'll tell you the truth, meaning up until now I've been lying to you. Oh. No, I don't think that's what it means, but behold, three more kinks will arise in Persia. I think I told y'all that, huh? And the first shall be richer than all of them. By his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. And y'all know who that king was, right? Reference to 4 Persian kings may refer to all Persian kings down to the last one, Darius III, in 331 BC. Included in these would be the king Ahasuerus, also known as Xerxes, the first, who succeeded Darius I in 485 BC. He is the king who attacked Sparta. His wife was Esther, from the book of Esther. King Xerxes. Huh? Yeah, and I should have brought my paper. I forgot it on my desk. I went over it again this morning. I'll listen to this lecture for the second time to get, it's on a clipboard. on the credenza. It deals with the Roman Empire. Why would that be important now? Well, most people don't really know what formed, how, and why, and what the nature of the Roman Empire really was. Because the Roman Empire was already forming when Darius III in 331 BC was in power in Media or Persia, Babylon, or Iran, or whatever you want to call it. It's all the same place. It blends into chapter 11 as we get later into it, because the situations that we're going to describe in chapter 11, and it's very, very, very brief in Daniel, span the period of about 200 years. If you really, really would like to know, and really the book I'm going to tell you to go read only deals with what we're going to deal with in chapter 11 in the last 100 years or less of it, when it was the worst. And that's the two books of Maccabees in the Catholic Bible. It would be to your advantage to get you a copy of a Catholic Bible and read those two books. They are very, very, very well written, well done, enlightening historical books. And if you want to get more of it, then you go read Josephus with it. And then you'll be scratching your head trying to remember what you read. Josephus has been proclaimed the greatest Jewish historian in history to ever write. Very, very accurate to the nth degree. Bet you can't read that. I can't either.
I could not read it, so it's like Greek. Is he in
See, we're talking about 485 BC, Darius the First, 331 BC, Darius the Third, or Xerxes. You know when the Roman Empire began to form? 509 BC. Yeah. You know what it was? It was an extremely conservative republic.
So what happened? Caesar, huh?
Oh yeah, if you really want to know, I'll be glad to tell you. They had three forms of government institutions to ensure that no single person ever had absolute power, because they detested kings and emperors. Rome organized it after the, if I got the name of the organizations that went in there and overthrew them and all, and just the city of Rome did this. And then they began to, because they became very popular, and the different provinces of Italy began to unite with them, kind of like the United States did, voluntarily, and formed little organizations within. They weren't called the Roman Empire. They adopted the same republic attitudes in government, and all would send people into, and Rome became their capital. And that's how they expanded. Most of their expansions were done by volunteer joining, not war. That went on later. Most of it was diplomatic alliances. They weren't trying to build an empire, and they didn't want anything about it. Pompey, the General Pompey, is one that he's the one that took over Israel. Okay, but Israel, this little, y'all enjoy these little side trips? If not, just say so. They did not conquer Israel. They did not fight a war against Israel. They did not do anything to Israel. Israel had two Jewish factions fighting for power within their own structure. Think of it like this. You know the Muslims, they got the Shiites and the Sunnis. They'll kill each other. Well, I like to look, maybe it was the Sadducees and the Pharisees, because they disagreed on everything. But whatever it was, there were two factions within Israel fighting for power constantly. One of those factions, Rome was favorable to. So Pompey sent armies to Israel to defend and protect that particular group of people that was governing Israel. They weren't there to invade the people or control them, they were there to protect them. And that's what they were even at the time of Christ. Isn't that weird? It became an empire. It started to, what happened is, because there was no central power, the Senate and different organizations had the power. The problem was that the armies, because they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and pretty soon they had to start using their military strength to defend these people and fight wars. And their military got pretty strong, and the generals became the powerful people. One of the guys' names, the one who actually started this republic to become an absolute empire with a dictator, was Julius Caesar. Some of y'all read about him in high school. Et tu, Brute? Always remember that. You too, Brutus? That's the reason the Senate executed Julius Caesar and stabbed him to death, because he was gaining too much central power and taking over the entire nation of Rome to make it an empire. Interesting little tidbits, huh?
So, so was it his sons after that were Caesars, or they just called them Caesars?
I don't know how the name Caesar came to him, Julius, but that's what his name was, Julius Caesar, and that's what they called their emperors from then on, Caesars. And when they started getting involved in the government of Israel, Herod was king.
Yeah. True.
Not the Herod in Jesus' time.
Oh.
Well, the Herod in the time of his birth, yeah. The one who died when he was in Egypt. Herod was not a Jew. He was king of Israel. His mother was an Arab, and his father was from Syria. And he was a Jew by choice of religious practice, not by birth. Did a lot of great things for him, even though he had some cockamamie ideas. And he was the one that Pompey kind of favored supporting. Anyway, I wish I could read my writing, but anyway, you don't need to go. I don't want to go into too much detail with that anyway. But as the leaders gained more and more power, the generals got to be the most powerful ones. The one that came after Julius Caesar, that you know very well, was Mark Antony. Y'all, how many of y'all recognize the name Mark Antony? They don't teach history in school anymore, David. They quit teaching history in school in the 60s. Trust me. But Mark Antony was a general. There was another general that was vying for power against Mark Antony. And now I'm going to forget his name. Son of a gun.
Can't beat you anyway.
Octavian. It's coming. Probably recognize that name too if you studied history in high school once upon a time in the olden days when I was there. You heard about Octavian also. Well, anyway, Octavian and Mark Antony got mixed up with a little girl in Egypt. Y'all remember her name, huh? No, it was, oh shoot, the one that was married to Robert Redford. Not Robert Redford, the English dude that was drunk all the time. I can't remember her name now. She was married 75 times, I think. Huh? Yeah, Richard Burton. Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah. 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 Cleopatra tried to steal her name and fame. Yeah, Mark Antony and Cleopatra. And there was a battle. There was a lot of, actually there was war between Mark Antony and Octavian. And Octavian obviously won. And Mark Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide. Interestingly enough, because it fits in when we get into the chapter a little better. But I found it interesting how Rome got into Israel, how all these things came about, how Rome itself became a nation, became an empire, and the fact that it never was intended to be what it became. And it became the largest in the Western world. Of course, you got to realize in those days the Western world consisted mostly of forests and illiterate people, mostly. There were no cities, there was nothing in the Western world. All of the civilization was in the Eastern world.
I was just thinking during Jesus' time, it's like the people wanted them.
Well, this is the thing about, and that's one of the reasons why I want to bring Rome into this, because it applied, God, in his wisdom, he used the Greeks to bring a culture, because the Roman Empire loved the Hellenistic culture. That's why they embraced it. The only people that spoke Latin were the government people. People spoke Greek. So the language was common throughout the known world because they already had control of the East. And Rome was the most tolerant nation toward religion. They had many gods, and they wanted everyone to worship a god. The only people they had a low tolerance to are the people that were totally atheistic and didn't believe in any god. They didn't trust those people. Can understand why. Anyway, so it made the growth of Christianity more compatible because Rome was in control. Of course, that changed, as it grew, because there was two things that bothered even the Roman people. The Jews believed that only their God was God, nobody else. And the Christians believe if you didn't have Jesus, you were worshiping an idol. And neither would change, so they wouldn't accept the other religions in Rome, which brought about the problems with the destruction of Christians and all. But of course, God used that to make the church grow. The more they persecuted them. You want to read about that? You want to learn about that? Go to Exodus chapter 1. They say these people are growing too fast, they're getting too big, we've got to give them plenty of work, let's just work them in the ground, and the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. It's written in the scripture. That's how the Jewish nation was formed. The more they were persecuted by the Egyptians, the more they multiplied and grew. The more the Christians were persecuted by the Jews and the Romans, the more they multiplied and grew. What you do is so loud I can't hear what you say. Your actions speak much louder than words. So, anyway, this confusing or kind of mind. I mean, listen, you could spend, if you like references, I could get you references. I'm listening to this professor that's teaching about all this. He's talking about the growth of how Christianity formed. And the Roman Empire had a lot to do with it. But he has many books and lectures just on the forming of the Roman Empire. So if you're interested in that kind of foolishness. But mostly just people like me that do that. Anyway, so back in chapter 11. Questions? Shoes? Huh? Moving right along. Ooh. Fozzie Bear. 11-3. Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, if you want to know the name of the band. In case you think I don't know the history of the Muppets, I do. Then a mighty king shall arise. A mighty king shall arise, who shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. That, my friend, is not Darius, it's not Xerxes, and it's not a Persian. That is Alexander the Great, who got very, very, very upset as a very young man at what Xerxes did to Sparta. He's the one that organized Greece. Greece was like Rome up until Alexander. In other words, Greece was a bunch of small communities separated from each other and not mingling. He diverted their language into one common language and brought them all together into one united nation and created the nation of Greece. Then he started whooping folks. And he was young. What he did, if you read some of these things and you think about them, think, wow, God, how young he was when he died, and he did more than I've done in 81 years. But depends on what God gives you to do. Yeah. Verse 4 and 5. And when he has arisen, Alexander that is, his kingdom shall be broken up and divided toward the four winds of heaven. Remember the goat with the one big horn that broke off and four horns grew? The four winds of heaven, in other words, four directions, but not among his posterity. In other words, his kids didn't inherit his kingdom, nor according to his dominion with which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be uprooted even for others besides these. Like the way the angel talks, he makes it more complicated. And I'm not going to go down and break down all the people who ruled just two of those four. We're not going into the other two. One of those four was Turkey and Mesopotamia. Rome took care of them. Rome put the whooping on them. That's one nation they conquered, Turkey. But anyway, the two we're going to concentrate on is the two to concentrate on in this book, because they're the ones that pertain to the Jewish nation. Okay? All right. For his kingdom shall be uprooted even from others besides these. Also, the king of the south shall become strong, as well as one of his princes. That's one of his sons. And he shall gain power over him and have dominion. His kingdom shall be a great dominion. The son's going to kick over his daddy's kingdom. The south is Egypt. Okay? When Alexander died, his four generals took over the empire. One took Syria, the northern kingdom. One took Egypt, the southern kingdom. Now, it included some of the other areas around there, not just Egypt. Egypt was just like Syria. One took Mesopotamia and the other one took Greece. None of them went further east because they quit conquering. They started to go into India, and they didn't want to go no more. So they didn't take any of that. So south is Egypt. Okay? Verse 6. And at the end of some years, and at the end of some years, they shall join forces. For the daughter of the king of the south, Egypt, shall go to the king of the north, Syria, to make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of her authority, and neither he nor his authority shall stand. That's the dude in the north, okay? But she shall be given up with those who brought her, and with him who begot her, and with him who strengthened her in those times. I dare you to find me a commentary on what we just read.
You dare.
You're not going to find it. Know that there was a king in Syria. There was a king in Egypt. They were Greeks. They weren't Arabs. They battled each other, politically and militarily. Egypt sent a daughter up there, but the power that she had as the daughter of a king was stripped away from her and the people that went with her. And the one she went to in the north lost his power too. None of this was affecting Israel, therefore, it didn't really get well described as to what was going on. It gets more involved as we go on. We're still early in this kingdom. But north, the kingdom in the north is Syria. Prophecy stretched from 531 BC to 164 BC. Right? That's 300 and something years, y'all. A period of 367, as a matter of fact, if you look at what's written right there. It's a period of 367 years that these Greek kings controlled Syria and Egypt. And what's the bridge between Syria and Egypt? How's your geography? Israel. Why is the road Israel and not Saudi Arabia? If you go down Persia, you get to the Persian Gulf. That ain't going to work. Saudi Arabia is a sand dune. All the people in Saudi Arabia probably live on 10 square miles. You can't live there. The only place that's inhabitable that would make a decent place to come through is Israel. Do you really believe that all the circumstances surrounding all of that are coincidental?
No.
Absolutely not. It's also not coincidental that with all the oil that they're pumping out of every single nation of borders Israel, there is none in Israel. Isn't that amazing? It's an interesting game when you really start playing it and thinking about it. God, why are you doing this? I can't wait to figure this out.
In other words, he kind of was inflicting.
I met a man in the Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship who talked oil companies into going and put a well in Israel. And I think it was in I'm trying to remember which tribe it was, Dan or Naphtali or one of those in the northern section of Israel, because when Jacob pronounced a blessing on them, it stated that his heel would be in oil. And this guy was so convinced that God was saying that there's oil in that part of Israel, he got an oil company to actually go out there and drill a well. Guess what they found? Water. That's the other crazy thing. They got oil in the other countries, but they ain't got no water. Israel's got water. Even in the southern part of Israel, they dug wells down there and they kept finding water. And when they find water, y'all, they don't just find a pool of muddy water like we do when we dig a well. They found running water. Underground streams of water. Fresh, constantly moving water in these wells. How long do those wells last? Well, I don't know. Jesus was talking to the woman at Jacob's well, for crying out loud. What? Almost 1,000 years after he dug it? And they was still getting water out of that well. Yeah, that's why if you don't, that's what's wrong with me. My brain goes nuts and it dwells on these things. But it makes sense that God has a purpose in every bit of this. And it just amazes me because I want to see what it is. Why is it this way? We can see what the oil has done to the Muslim nations. Look what Israel has done with the water. My God, those of us that have been to Israel, it is just mind-boggling what they produce over there. It's incredible. I don't know. Oh my goodness, Tim is after 8. Shut up. Anyway, Syria is the north. Prophecies, all of this history affects Israel. Xerxes I was the last king of Persian Empire, and he attacked Greece, Spartans. Because of this invasion, even though it failed, the Greeks hated the Persians. In 323 BC, Alexander the Great died at the age of 33 years old. 33 years old, Alexander the Great was. But he put an end to the Syrian. So the Syrian thing was pretty well messed up. No, that's when, forget it. That's when Alexander started all of this humbug. Okay, 33 years old, and he had conquered most of the known world at that time, after he had created Greece. Daniel 11:7-34. This is the long stretch of the chapter. Yeah, that's page 18. Starts on verse 7. But from a branch of her roots. Whose roots? Forgot. Remember the one that went up, the daughter that went up to the northern kingdom, who lost her power? But from her roots, that means some of her offspring, shall arise in his place, who shall come with an army into the fortress of the king of the north, and deal with them and prevail. So the one that went from the south to the north, her roots back down in the south, are going to come out with a king who's going to go up there and make some nasty stuff happen to the king of the north. Prevail. And he shall also carry their gods captive to Egypt. And their princes and their precious articles of silver, gold, shall continue more years than the king of the north. King of the south, Egypt, will be stronger and for quite a few years. Okay? Also the king of the north shall come to the kingdom of the king of the south, but shall return to his own land. Won't try to invade you, but it didn't work. However, his son, whose son? The son of the king of the north, shall stir up strife and assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overwhelm and pass through. Then shall his fortress and stir up strife. So he's going to cause a lot of trouble. The king of the south is going to be moved with rage. He ain't going to like this new king in the north who's coming out here and stirring up all this stuff. So he's going to be enraged. He's going to move with rage and go out and fight with him, with the king of the north, who shall muster a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into the hand of his enemy. When he has taken away the multitude, his heart will be lifted up, and he will cast down tens of thousands, but he will not prevail. For the king of the north will return and muster a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come to the end of some years with a great army and much equipment. Now, this is confusing, but the king of the north gathers a multitude of an army, goes down to the king of the south, but he doesn't prevail, and thousands upon thousands are wiped out, and he goes back up to the north, and he not satisfied, he makes up another multitude and comes back down again. In those times many shall rise up against the king of the south. Also violent men of your people. Whose people? Daniel's people. Shall exalt themselves in fulfillment of the vision, but they shall fall. So the king of the north shall come and build a siege mound and take a fortified city. The forces of the south shall not withstand him. In other words, the northern king is going to whoop the southern king. Even his choice troops shall have no strength to resist. But he who comes against him will do according to his own will, and no one shall stand against him. He shall stand in the glorious land with destruction in his power. What you're seeing here, what you got to understand with all this back and forth movement, is these two guys, these two kingdoms, going to do everything they can to destroy each other, but the northern kingdom will prevail and will grow stronger and stronger. And in the meantime, while this is all going on, all this is passing through Israel. It's not necessarily doing anything to the Israelites, but it's passing through their country. So it's got to cause some chaos. But as we get into this, it does. He shall also set, verse 17, he shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do. And he shall give him the daughter of women to destroy it, but she shall not stand with him or before him. For this he shall turn his face to the coastlands, and shall take many. But a ruler shall bring the reproach against them to an end, and with the reproach removed he shall turn back on him. You see why this is confusing? You lost track of who is doing this. And the angel is not making it any easier to understand. Here's the problem. Too many people are trying to piece together in all of this end-time prophecy. This is not end-time prophecy. This is the misery of the Greek occupation of the Holy Land. That's what this is. And all these things going back and forth, the reason why God didn't see fit in my mind to give us a better and clearer explanation is because it didn't affect anything but what affected Israel and how it affected Israel. God is talking, his angel's talking to Daniel about his people. That's the key subject matter of this chapter. Okay? Verse 19, then he shall turn his face toward the fortress of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. There shall arise in his place one who imposes taxes on the glorious kingdom. What's that? Oh, gee, that must be Israel. But within a few days he shall be destroyed, but not in anger or in battle. Somebody's just going to do him in. And in his place shall arise a vile person, to whom they will not give the honor of royalty, but he shall come in peaceably and seize the kingdom by intrigue. Is this? Well, we're getting there. You're going to know him pretty soon. You'll recognize him because you've heard about him. But here's where they also look at the similarity between this and the Antichrist. The Antichrist is not coming to power through military strength. Intrigue, perhaps. Deceit, certainly. Bringing peace. Anyway, with the first of a flood, they shall sweep away from before him and be broken, and also the prince of the covenant. And after the league is made with him, he shall act deceitfully, for he shall come up and become strong with a smaller number of people. Here's something I've learned from reading books. It's not the largest and most powerful army that always wins the war. If you really and truly found yourself a good book to find out how that knucklehead in Cuba took over Cuba from Batista, it was like a troop of Boy Scouts going against the Army Rangers. That's how pathetic his army was compared to Batista's army. That's not why they didn't lose the war, because their army was pathetic. They lost the war because Batista wasn't taking care of his military people good enough. When you're in charge, if you don't take care of the people that keep you in charge, they kick you out. You don't believe that? That's how politics works. The Republicans and the conservatives better see something going on with the conservative president, or they're going to let the liberals take over again. They do it constantly. You got to, everybody, that's another story, but so he didn't have to have a large army. He shall enter peaceably, even into the richest places of the province, and he shall do what his fathers have not done, nor his forefathers. He shall disperse among them the plunder, spoil, and riches, and he shall devise his plans against the strongholds, but not for a time. What he's trying to explain is this is not going to be a takeover like a regular military coup. It's a takeover of intrigue, of deceit, and of making you believe something that this is what you want. It's a lot like what you see going on in our country today. He shall stir up in his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall devise plans against him. Yes, those who eat of the portion of his delicacies shall destroy him. His army shall be swept away, and many shall fall down slain. So the king of the south, Egypt, not going to be able to stand up against him. Both these kings' hearts shall be bent on evil, and they shall speak lies at the same table. I can picture that in my mind.
Yes.
You know what comes to my mind when I read that is the army general, the one that slapped the soldier, Patton and the general from Russia sitting at the table, lying to each other. Both these kings' hearts shall be bent on evil, and they shall speak at the same table. But it shall not prosper, for the end is still at the appointed time. For I return to his own land with great riches, and his heart shall be moved against the holy covenant. So he shall do damage and return to his own land. I'm going to pass through Israel, and I'm going to have my heart's going to turn against them. I'm going to do damage.
And that way you don't destroy it.
Yeah, well, he might have not destroyed it all, but he did a lot of damage. At the appointed time he shall return and go toward the south, but it shall not be like the former or the latter, for ships from Cyprus shall come up against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return in rage against the Holy Covenant and do damage. The ships from the east, from Cyprus, is interesting to me because there's no explanation as to what that is. I kind of think sometime Rome might have had a little bit to do with that. But in any case, because it stopped him from invading Egypt again, he turned his vengeance against the Holy Land. I knew it was getting late. So shall return and show regard for those who forsake the Holy Covenant. You'll show regard for those who forsake the Holy Covenant. Y'all still don't recognize this man, huh? And forces shall be mustered by him, and they shall defile the sanctuary fortress. Then they shall take away the daily sacrifice, and place there the abomination of desolation. We're getting familiar yet? Those who do wickedly against the covenant he shall corrupt with flattery, but the people who know their God shall be strong and carry out great exploits. Gee, you that could be. Huh? The people who know their God shall be strong and carry out great exploits. The people who abandon their God, he'll corrupt with flattery. It's all Jews he's talking about. The ones that are going to be strong are the Maccabees. And those are the people who understand shall instruct many, yet for many days they shall fall by sword and flame, and by captivity and plundering, but when they fall they shall be aided with a little help, but many shall join with them by entreat. There are a lot of people died in the Maccabean Wars. And let me explain to you, I think I did this once before. How did Judas Maccabees was a priest in Israel? Yeah, I understand all priests are Levites, but not all Levites are priests, right? You understand that? Priests are direct descendants of Aaron. Levites are direct descendants of Levi, but not Aaron's family. A priest, a high priest, went into the Holy of Holies, but the priest was the one that burned the incense and lit the candles and did everything in the temple. Judas Maccabees was a priest, not in Jerusalem. The Greeks that came in told him to worship, to sacrifice a pig on the altar, which of course is an abomination to God, and Judas Maccabees said no. And they pulled their sword and said, you either sacrifice the pig or die. So Judas Maccabees grabbed the sword and killed the soldiers. He stood for his God. That's what this just said. They would grow strong. But like Brian pointed out many times, when you read the story about the woman who watched the 7 children executed before her and would not deny God, they paid a dear price, a really dear price, to beat this. Now, let me do some real fast explaining, okay? Ptolemy the first made an agreement with Seleucus to consolidate their empires. Seleucus was the one that went to Egypt. Ptolemy went to Syria. That's the original generals under Alexander the Great. Okay? The daughter of Ptolemy II gave his daughter to Antiochus I to confirm their continued unity, but he had to divorce his first wife to do so. 2 years after Ptolemy II died, she killed both the daughter and her former husband and his son. She wiped them all out. The descendant of Ptolemy II attacks Syria. He marries Cleopatra, daughter of Antiochus II. See, all this mix is confusing. You already lost it. You have nothing. The reason I'm not trying to, we'd be here 8 weeks to break this down to an understandable lecture. But the thing you need to understand is all of this has to do with these two Greek kings doing all this foolishness in and out of the Holy Land. But what happened with Cleopatra? She wound up with Mark and Anthony. This is the famous Antiochus Epiphanes, who became the abomination of desolation, written about in Matthew chapter 24, verse 15. You've heard the name Antiochus Epiphanes, have you not? Yeah. He's the one that set himself up as a god, put a pig in the Holy of Holies. Ta-da! Y'all want to stop now? Because I don't know if we're going to make the rest of this chapter. There's only there's a few paragraphs left. I'll leave it to y'all though, because it's 27 minutes after 8. Speaketh thou. We can stop now while you chew on the fact that the guy who did all this from the northern kingdom is Ptolemy Epiphanes. He's the reason the 7 books in our Bible, in the Catholic Bible, are not in our Bible anymore. Of course, I've also heard other people teach from a different reason for that, but it's the Greek culture. They so detested the Greek culture. So which y'all want to stop? Judy wants to stop.
Yeah, right.
Everybody else saying this don't matter to them, but
Keep going, Pastor.
I'll go fast. Okay, Daniel 37:39, he shall regard neither the God of his father, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall exalt himself above all men, but in their place he shall honor a God of fortresses, and a God which his fathers did not know, and he shall honor with gold and silver, precious stones, pleasant things. Thus he shall act against the strongest fortresses with a foreign god, which he shall acknowledge and advance in his glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many and divide the land for gain. Okay, what that means. He is a Jew, a false prophet. The desire of every Jewish woman, okay, now understand this. The desire at this time of every Jewish woman was to become the mother of the Messiah. They all knew that the Messiah would be born of a virgin. This is what is rejected when he rejected women. The desire of women, or alternatively as Tammuz, the favorite god of women in Daniel's day. Okay? Ezekiel 8:14 said, so he brought me to the door of the north gate of the Lord's house, and to my dismay women were sitting there weeping for Tammuz. That's when God brought Ezekiel into the temple. Look what they're doing here. In all the different places where they were worshiping, the women would worship this goddess that they favored. Okay, this is what this person was rejecting. It does not regard other gods. Humanism. It was a humanist. The earliest forms of it. Okay? Daniel 40-45. That gets rid of that clears up 37-39, right? Clear as mud. At the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, horsemen, with many ships, and he shall enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through. He shall also enter the glorious land, and many countries will be overthrown. But these shall escape from his hand. But these shall escape from his hand. But these shall escape from his hand. Edom, Moab, and Ammon. Put that somewhere in a little compartment of your brain. And when you start reading eschatology, remember those 3 countries. They're the ones who get away. He will stretch out his hand against the countries of the land of Egypt. shall not escape. He shall have power over the treasure of gold and silver and over the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans, Ethiopians shall follow at his heels. But news from the east and the north will trouble him. Therefore he shall go out of the great fury to destroy and annihilate many. And he shall plant the tents of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. It shall come to his end, and no one will help him. Classical interpretation of this. This is the context. Classical interpretation sees this as reference to Antiochus Epiphanes, archetype of the Antichrist, who is seen being particularly described in these verses. And they're absolutely right. This actually happened. This actually occurred. This man actually existed. These things actually happened in Israel. And it is the epitome of what the Antichrist is described as doing and being in the last 3.5 years of tribulation. But remember, he entered by intrigue. The first 3.5 years of tribulation is peace, prosperity, and hunky-dory. It's Mamdani's free supermarkets with full shelves. Seen pictures of them lately. Free eggs. And there's about 175 people inside the store and about 500 of them outside waiting to get in and got 2 eggs on the shelf. Not 2 dozen, 2 eggs. It does obviously describe the Antichrist as seen in the book of Revelation. Verse 40 begins the chapter at the end times, an attack against Israel from the Arabs, Muslims in the south. Easily can be put that way, that when you see the Muslim nations, when you start tying these things together, and you tie those nations together today, and you realize when your geography gets clear in your mind, and you know where Ethiopia is, where Egypt is, where all these different places are, and you say, wow, we're seeing history continues to repeat itself over and over and over and over, exactly the way God describes it. The attack from the north is Russia, and from the east is China. Remember, he was attacked from the north and from the east. See how it applies to the end time? That's when you look at the classical, there are so many dispensations of interpretation when it comes to eschatology. That's why whenever I teach the book of Revelation, I always use at least 4. I never do less than 4. There are more than 4, but I never do less than 4. You know who has the larger army than China? China does have a 200-man army. You know who has a larger army than that? Us. We have more armed citizens than they have armed soldiers. Why do you think we're at war with China right now? You can write this down in a book right after the Gospel of John. We are at all-out war with China, or China is at all-out war with the United States. They have brought in, across the southern border, hundreds of thousands of military-age Chinese military soldiers into the United States. They are not fighting with guns because they're not that stupid. We got more guns than them, and they'd be defeated. They are fighting with fentanyl, and they are winning by hundreds of thousands of people dying per year. We never lost that much in the wars we fought in the last 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years. We never lost 100,000 people in a year. We think nothing of it. 150, 200,000 people die of fentanyl. We don't even consider that. But we want to have a protest because 50,000 died in 7 or 8 years in Vietnam. We better get our head on straight. Enough said. We got a president now to put an end to that foolishness. When you let people, them ain't Mexicans coming across the border. All right, let's continue this. I'm going to finish it. Russia attacks Egypt, and the Arabs also, the Black Sea races, North Africa, blah, 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 blah. With the attack coming from the east, they camp in Jerusalem and try to destroy the Jews. This is the whole summation of Ezekiel 38 and 39. Arabs destroyed by Russia, Russia destroyed by China, China destroyed by the Antichrist, Antichrist destroyed by God. Now you got it all put together, including the end of it all. I don't know that China is the 200-man army that comes to the Euphrates River. They are east of the Euphrates River. Yes, they're also north of the Euphrates River. Russia is the one they talk about coming from the far north, obviously. Ezekiel 38 and 39, obviously. I'm interested to know. I still believe Ezekiel 38 and 39 occur before the tribulation period. But anyway, I'm not going to ask you if you have any questions, because you got more questions you could possibly get answered from all this, right? Did it help clarify anything?
But all the names were in order to stop.
Well, you just remember it's Egypt and Assyria. Yeah, it is. But you're talking about hundreds of years. This is going on. And the culture, that's why they hated the Greek culture so much, because of what it did to their nation. I mean, literally, the priests were so bound to serve their God, they capitulated almost immediately. Pathetic. But what do we got going on today? How many Christian churches have capitulated to the enemy? Good gracious sakes alive.
It's profitable. That's why we do it.
It's satisfactory to me. That's all that matters. Huh? I'm a Catholic priest, but I want to marry a man, not a woman. Well, the Catholics don't want me to be a priest anymore, so they kick me out of the church. So I found a church that's okay with that, and I'm now pastoring that church. Because that's what I want. It don't make any difference what God says. It don't matter what I believe. That don't matter. It satisfies me.
Tell them at the white throne of judgment.
Sounds like it to me. Would y'all like me to dive into this deeper and get y'all, or would y'all like to just leave this alone? I'm telling you, you could study Daniel for years. Every time you mention Daniel, the first thing you think about is the lion's den. Or you think of the dream. Or you think of the fiery furnace. You don't think of these things. But these things are really important too. Oh well.
I just like how it's a foresight on what's to come with the Antichrist and all the wars that's ahead of us.
Eh,
But it,
He's done anyway.
a lot.
what he does anyway? I'm trying to.
John's gonna come and say about, he's gotta go to work tomorrow.
He's got to go to work tomorrow. I can't go to work. The machine's broken and it rained all day.
Well, that's what he said, he gotta go to work.
And it dried up.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Hey, John.
this was
How you doing, my
the
brother?
future for Daniel, but it was past.
Yes, it was the future for Daniel, because Daniel, remember, when we started this, the angel came to speak to him. Darius was the king, right? Not Darius the third. We still got 4 more kings coming when Daniel got this vision. So his mind is blown away. On top of the fact that his mind is still thinking about that 4th kingdom made of iron and crushing everything. That's where his mind is. And that's where a lot of people's mind is when they read chapter 11. And yeah, this was a future event. That's why he says it will come in its time. When we get in the next chapter, that's when he says, seal up the book until the time of the end. Knowledge will increase. Because you're not going to even, if you got a trouble with this, you're never going to understand the end and what's coming there. So yeah, it was all futuristic for Daniel. He knew who was coming, he knew what they would do, but he had no earthly, he never got to see any of it. Daniel was an old man by the time he got this.
I'm glad I didn't walk in his shoes. I tell you that.
I don't know, walking in his shoes wasn't an easy task. He was detested and mistrusted and hated by most of the people around him. The king liked him, and the rest of the Jews did, but a lot of other people in the Chaldeans didn't like him. And
They were always plotting against
if God's working through you really strong, don't expect people to be too happy with you. And if you get into it far enough, long enough, you'll find out there's another side to all the good things that come with it. It's amazing how hateful people can become after God has blessed them beyond their wildest dreams. And blame the person that God used to bless them. I could tell you some stories. I'm not gonna, but I could. How vicious some people have attacked. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, but so I'm sure Daniel went. Well, we know Daniel went through that. Look what they did to him, get him in the lion's den. But did I answer your question? Oh yeah. Yeah, it's the future. Yeah.
For us,
It's the past for us. It's the future for Daniel.
until the part that comes with the Antichrist and all
Well,
that.
it showed you that the false prophet and all the Antichrist
It's still the future for us when you take the stuff that he told Daniel before all of this about, he told him several times, the prince, I forgot how he wrote it, but the prince, the people of the prince to come destroys Jerusalem. That's 70 AD. Okay? The people that destroyed Jerusalem were the Romans. They're the people of the prince that is to come, the Antichrist. Look at the distance in time. We still haven't gotten there. That's the other thing. That's what I shared there with you. The gap. I love that gap that he left in the 70 weeks. Why would he do that? Because his, I don't know, his, I wish I had 1,000 years to read the book. I really do. So I could learn it. They, huh?
We know Satan, you same old tricks.
Yeah. No, he don't change at all.
What he was doing back then, that time, is what he's going to try to do in tribulation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. David Brown called me today. He reads the scriptures and he calls me to ask questions. He's been pastoring for years. He read John 1. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Then he went down, I think, 17. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Then he said, I went into chapter 6. Except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life within you. And he's all of a sudden he's saying, it's his word. Eating his flesh and drinking his blood is the word of God.
Word is life.
Yeah. I said, look, it boggles more when you put it all together. It's the incarnation. What is the incarnation? It's God being incarnated into a human body. Why? For what purpose? Because you have to have a kinsman redeemer. Can only be redeemed by a kinsman. A man, a human being had to die to pay the penalty for sin. God couldn't die to pay the penalty for sin, so he had to become a human being. What is the feast that we celebrate for this? Passover. What did you do with the Passover lamb? You ate it. Did you boil the blood? No, it had to be roasted. You don't ever eat roasted meat. On Passover you do. You know what I mean? You got to eat the blood in the Passover lamb. Got to. Jesus is God incarnate as a paschal lamb to die. We have to eat him to have life. Yeah, the word is, it's the word. It's, if you put it together, and I'm probably doing a lousy job of trying to make you understand it, it starts to make sense. And that's what he said. You know, he said, I used to read the scriptures so that I go through the whole Bible in a year, and I stopped doing it. I just read the study. And I said, I think I'm going back to that. I said, do that, because I do that twice a day, and I'm thinking about going to 3 times a day so that I can get the whole Bible in 3 times a year. Because the more you do it, the more you see how it weaves together. It's, the way we go through Scripture now, we see some threads right here that don't make any sense. Leviticus. Numbers. And we get over there, oh, look, Jesus. Oh, look, John. They all weave together to make one portrait. It takes a lifetime, and we still don't really get to see it. We just don't, we can't grasp it. But the more we do it, the more it begins to clarify itself. Yeah, it becomes clearer. Not perfectly clear, but clearer.
With the help of the Holy Spirit, he's the teacher in all truth.
Yeah, no question about it. If you have any understanding at all, that's where it comes from.
He gives you the revelation of it when it's time.
Yeah.
You can only do it at your pace. The Holy
Are we off?
do it at
We are? Oh, okay. I was trying to say good night to the folks that tune in. Thank y'all. We Afterglow. Good night.